Hello and welcome to Writerly Witterings again. As usual, good cup of tea. Today, I thought I'd do a quick update on how things are going with this, what some people consider to be damn silly writing project where I'm handwriting a book. I thought when I started that I might be a bit slower than I would be at typing. I've been correct at that. What has surprised me is that I suppose because I've written 42 books using a computer, I'm now very much of a mindset where I can sit behind a desk with a computer in front of me and my mind works very well through my fingertips and typing on a keyboard. I was surprised to find it doesn't work or hasn't worked quite as well using pen and paper. I think it's partly because when you're writing with pen and paper you've got no physical measure apart from the number of sheets of paper you're filling out as to how much work you're doing, and I don't yet know how each page of A4 will equate to a page worth of typing. So that was a bit of a surprise, but it seems to be changing now. As I'm writing more and more and doing 10 to 15 pages a day now, that seems to be improving and my ideas are flowing much more naturally. The characterizations are quite slim. I've got a number of different opening ideas that I'm working with the different characters, Fulk and Odo and Sibyl and Lothar and Alwyn. So I've got a number of different basic outlines that I'm working to, but the main thing really is how the story develops. What I always used to do when I was writing on the computer was I would have a start point, I would take that point and then I would see and write the story sequentially all the way through. This one, I seem to have written a lot more background, which is not going to turn up in the book. May put it onto the internet at some point. But the main part of the book now is developing really rather nicely, but from a different start point from the one I'd expected. That could just be the way this book is. It could be the way that my approach to the writing has changed over time as well. What's interesting is I've got some of the inks I've used in the last week here: Autumn Oak, Tyrian Purple, Rustic Brown, Sherwood Green and Red Dragon, all of them diamine inks. And you can see the sort of variation in the colour as I'm going through. And the nice thing is that because I've got all these different colours going through, I can see, for example, where I've had to go back and add things on a subsequent day. So I've got an initial start point has been added there. This was then going to be the first section. That changed and I had to amend it with all this fresh pink. Then there was this section that was already written, which then became the pink again. So I can actually see now visually almost exactly how my story was developing while I was writing it. That I find really nice. I do love the way that the different inks are working on the page too. Interestingly, for example, you can see here that I started off on this day, 9th of March. The writing was all quite close together. I was thinking more slowly, taking a bit more care about writing it, which is utterly different when you compare it to a page of only a couple of pages later where the writing's much more spread out. And I think there I was getting really quite excited by what I was writing and I was just shooting through it, getting the idea down quickly as possible. Then here I was on the Rustic Brown, and then what was this? This is the Tyrian Purple, and this is the Red Dragon. So I had a few colours that are really rather similar during the 1 week. Luckily interspersed with Sherwood Green, just to make things stand out a bit. The story so far is definitely working very well. I'm extremely pleased with the way the story is developing. I'm very, very pleased with this paper, by the way. It's only 50 GSM, and it means that while I'm writing, may not look like a huge amount of paper in there that I've been writing on, but actually that's covering a hell of a lot of pages. But when you compare it with this, which is standard 90 GSM, it does feel as though it's half the thickness. It's amazing. But it's beautiful paper to write on because there's no bleed through or shading. It's very, very good indeed. And it works exceptionally well with my Atoma notepad, so I'm pleased with that. My Visconti, meanwhile, is bearing up very nicely. And I've got a feeling that if enough people express interest in this, then it's quite likely that Visconti will start making this pen as a standard. The nice thing is that unlike the usual Homo sapiens, which is, I've spoken about this in previous videos, so I won't say too much, but basically this is a really delightful material. It's made out of volcanic rock mixed with rubber. But the trouble is you can't see how much ink you've got in it. It does take a lot of ink, but you can't tell how much there is. With this though, you've got two reservoirs, one here which you can see through to an acrylic window, and up here there's another acrylic window with a second smaller reservoir, so you can see at all times exactly how much ink you've got in the small reservoir while you're writing, and also in the larger reservoir to refill it. So it's an excellent, excellent pen. I love the fine nib. It really is a beautiful pen to write with, and very relaxing. But apart from that, the project is continuing nicely. I think I'm on target to finish it. But I'm also going to be starting writing on the outlines for some other books as well. I've got to write a follow-up to Act of Vengeance, the modern day spy thriller. I've also got to write a follow-up to the Blackjack series. The first one, Rebellion's Message, comes out in April. In America, I'm afraid it won't be till August. That's not my fault. Speak to the publisher, Seven House. But I've got to do follow-ups to both of those two, and I need to start thinking about them both as quickly as possible. Mainly so that I can give ideas to the publishers. And that really is about it for now. It's been a not very busy week because we've just had Easter, and I had to take some time off, mainly to allow my children to survive so that they wouldn't be killed by a mother who was working very hard on an edit herself. But I'm just about to set off to London tomorrow for meetings with agents and also giving some talks to some students, and then another series of talks to Rotary clubs down here. So I'm really rather busy right now, and it's a bit difficult to see where the time is going to be found to finish off writing projects. Hopefully I will. So anyway, hope you found that useful, found it interesting. I think the next video is probably going to be on designing characters and what I've done in terms of developing the plot, if I can get my mind around that. But if you enjoyed this, click on the thing that says you're going to subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends all about this. And if you've got any questions, or if you've got any aspects of writing or planning or anything else that you'd like me to look at, put it in a comment down at the bottom and let me know, and I'll be happy to consider making a video about that, because otherwise it's very difficult to think up new videos every other week. Hope that's okay. Thanks very much for watching. Back to my tea.